Any day that I get to throw on this jersey, wave around this rally towel, and watch some amazing Gamecocks football is an amazing day for me. What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Touchdowns to Home Runs Gamecocks Spring Game Postgame Show. And before we even get started on talking about the Gamecocks Spring Game Show, I'd appreciate if you guys would hit that like button down below and hit the sub button. That would be greatly appreciated on my end. And one other thing I just want to shout out quickly. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, we are launching the first ever live show here on Touchdowns to Home Runs called the North to South Show, where we are going to be talking all about SEC football, and I really appreciate if you guys would come out and support me in that. So starting tomorrow at 7 o'clock, we're going to go Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, live show. Definitely be there. And if you can't watch the show, don't worry, there is going to be clips of the show posted on the channel. So let's talk about Shane Beamer's first ever spring game for South Carolina, the first ever action that we get to see live from this Shane Beamer team. And I think more than negatives, definitely more than negatives. I've watched this game and I was very optimistic about what I was watching, very positive about what I saw on the field, and there was definitely a bunch of breakout stars, what I'm going to get into later in this video, but I think as a whole, collectively, yes, you had some sloppy plays, you had some missed tackles, you just had some drop passes, but as a whole, I think from what we saw in this spring game, going in with, if you look back to last December and how our program was looking, the trajectory, I apologize for that, the trajectory of this program, what that was back in December, I think we have made tremendous progress, and I think that you see a lot of guys here who have taken a next step into being key guys for this program going forward and key guys into next season for Shane Beamer's first season. So as a whole, I think that this Gamecocks team played very well on both sides of the ball. So let's talk about, first I want to talk about some of the stars. I'm going to go my MVP of this whole thing. I think the easy and the most popular vote would be Zaquandre Wright. Obviously, he goes off. Kevin Harris is out. Marshawn Lloyd is out. But this guy has made tremendous progress himself. Like Shane Beamer said, I don't know what was his problem last year and why he didn't have the same production that he's having now in these practices. But Zaquandre Wright is a guy that has made tremendous progress from when I first saw him. And you saw him in this game. Lots of big rushes for Zaquandre Wright. And I think easily he's the most popular vote for MVP of this spring game. But I'm going to go someone else. I'm going to go Dak Joyner. The progress of catching the ball that I've seen from Dak Joyner, especially in this spring game, not so much catching the ball in open space, because that we saw a ton from him last year, and that's something that pretty much any wide receiver should be able to do. But contested catches is something that we really needed to see progress for Dak Joyner to be the number one guy in this receivers room, which many people believe that Dak Joyner is going to be that number one guy for this Gamecocks receiving room. I think Dak Joyner had the best game out of anyone out here. Just contested catches. He was really good. He was just running his routes crisply and catching the ball, which is absolutely huge. When you get this guy open in space, yes, good things are going to happen. But when this guy could start getting going with his contested catches, because he is the best athlete on this team, probably, Dak Joyner is going to be a very dangerous weapon for the Gamecocks next season. Another guy that I want to talk about, this was kind of my bold prediction for this game. I didn't release it publicly, but before the game, I was like, what am I going to look for in this game? If I had to make one bold prediction, what would I say? And my bold prediction was an E.J. Jenkins touchdown. Transfer from St. Francis. How about it? From none other than his St. Francis transfer partner, obviously Jason Brown, late in the second quarter of the live action, because there were so many different things. You had first kind of the pregame stuff, then you got into the actual live game action, and then you got into some situational stuff where you had goal line, you had red zone, you had third down conversions, all that fun stuff. But I'm pretty sure in the second quarter, late second quarter, you saw Jason Brown throw a nice ball to E.J. Jenkins, and I think 6'7", 6'8", however tall E.J. Jenkins is, I think he's going to be a huge steal for this Gamecocks receiving room this year, because you see R.J. Roderick, I think it was the first drive or something like that. The guy's just too tall. He clearly pass interference him just to make sure EJ doesn't have a chance on the ball, because he's coming down with that 6'8" guy. It's going to be tough. So that's a guy that I was really looking forward to and I think had a really good game. Also, we had another touchdown pass from Jason Brown in the, I'm pretty sure it was the red zone drive. So he had an amazing game there. Jaheem Bell, another guy that I want to talk about. Playing it all, doing it all, the athlete. I think he was supposed to be one of our main tight ends this year, but you see him taking snaps at running back. Again, it's nice when you have receivers, whether he plays tight end, wide receiver, or running back, just guys who can do it all. And versatile guys like that all the time will really help in your program. So I think Jaheem Bell had an amazing day. Luke Dodie, if we talk about him, I think we're going to get into all the quarterbacks. Luke Dodie, I think he had just a really, really solid game. There was not too many really, really bad mistakes. He had a couple of really nice throws, just pinpointing it on the dot, especially later in that game. I think Luke Dodie, easy starter. I don't think that there's an argument to be made that I think Luke Dodie should not be the starter. But I want to talk about Jason Brown, because what I saw from him, really, really, really positive feedback I have from him. I saw him just throwing the ball really well. He was good in the pocket. His vision and his decision-making was really well. Jason Brown was another guy that, again, I had him highlighted on who I'm going to watch in this game, and I think he stepped up. I think Jason Brown had an amazing game for the Gamecocks here. Also, Colton Gothier, our freshman quarterback, I think, again, there was just not too many, especially for a freshman quarterback. I think he just looked comfortable in there and got the ball to some guys. The receiving end of the ball, it was a bit shaky at points. There were some drop passes that you'd think maybe should have been caught. But for the most part, offensively, I think this team did pretty well. The offensive line is a different question. I think they held their own for the most part, although there was a lot of times where I'm going to get into talking about the defensive line, which is the strength of this Gamecocks defense and probably the second best room, in my opinion, in this whole Gamecocks football program, other than the running back room. Obviously, now just the rich get richer, because we just found out that Zaquandre White is also a very, very dangerous weapon in that Gamecocks running back room. But the defensive line, Kinsley Inakbari or JJ Inakbari, it's so confusing because they call him JJ on TV, and then they show up the little bar under that like has his information. It says Kinsley. I don't know what to call him, so we're just going to go with Inakbari. I think he's going to be the main guy for this Gamecocks defensive line. Obviously, led the team with 6 sacks last season and did the same in this game. Got after the quarterback a ton. But the defensive line had an amazing game, really stopping the rush. At the beginning, the defensive line started off slow because that's when you really saw Zaquandre take off with some big rushes. But after that, especially in the goal line D, you saw a lot of rushes that were just jam-packed at the line. And this defensive line is going to be strong. The secondary is where I think you just had a lot of open wide receivers at points in this game, and we know that the secondary as a whole is going to be the weakest room in this Gamecocks whole defense, but it's not going to be terrible. I don't think that the defense is going to be terrible. I didn't see any very bad mistakes in this game or anything that you're just like going insane over. Like, I didn't see any Elijah Moore. I bring this play up all the time because it was the worst defensive performance of the Gamecocks last season, where you have Elijah Moore just wide open down the middle of the field. No one's within 30 yards of him, and he just goes in for an easy touchdown. Or you go into the other scenario, another terrible play from the secondary last season. You go into the Florida game, Kadarius Toney gets the ball just on a simple drag route, runs up the middle, and you have 5 Gamecock defenders all around him. Not one of them could even change the path that he was taking or make him slow down one bit. Kadarius Toney, that was an easy touchdown. So I don't think that there was any plays like that in this game. There was one pass to, I think it was Kavon Mullins, would have been the Reds. I think it was the goal line reps, where I can't remember who it was on the outside, but it just looked like it was a lazy tackle effort and they didn't get him. Obviously, Mullins scored there, but other than that, I didn't really see anything terrible from the secondary in this game. For what we had in the secondary, there's a couple opportunities for picks that we just couldn't execute on, but overall, you had some tight coverage. I think Cam Smith, even though he got called on a PI on EJ Jenkins in the end zone, I didn't think that was PI, and I think when you're matched up against a 6'8 guy, he did amazing there. Obviously, he's going to be the big guy for the Gamecocks in this DB room this year, but I think as a whole, Shane Beamer, I want to talk about what I saw from him. Of course, I love watching the positive interactions with Shane Beamer and this football team throughout the practices, throughout all that. You see that on social media all the time. But there's also that side of me that is like, I don't want things to be too positive all the time. I don't want everything to be sunshine and rainbows and just, you're not going to give guys negative feedback. And that was something that honestly, just from seeing stuff on social media and everything, I was a bit worried about. But because you watch like the Alabama game, Nick Saban is constantly picking out, like, a guy will have an amazing play and they're talking to him on the broadcast, and he'll still be focused on a play five plays ago that Alabama screwed up. I kind of saw that fire and that kind of let's go from Shane Beamer that I was kind of worried that we wouldn't have. So that was something that was really reassuring to me. I love the positive interactions that he has with all the guys in this locker room so far, but there's got to be a point where, as a head coach, you still got to tell guys when they're doing stuff wrong, and you still got to have that fire in you, and I did see that from Shane Beamer today. I think it was a false start or something like that that really set him off, and I love to see the fire in him. So that was something that was also reassuring. So I think Shane Beamer, everyone on the staff, it was just a really, really good day of Gamecocks football, and I'm very positive going into this 2021 season as we have Shane Beamer going into his first season ever as a Gamecocks. Another thing that I would just want to shout out with this show tomorrow, I want to do these segments called Fan Story of the Day. So something I need you guys to do and something I need you guys to help me out with. Email me at touchdowntohomeruns. I'll put the email in the description so you could just click that. Email me your craziest and best Gamecocks fan story for me to read out on the show tomorrow. I want to do that every single episode because I want this to be more of a fan show and something like I'm really trying to go for community here. I'm really trying to make this our show, not just my show. I want to make this event the community and all the SEC fans around us. So I want to have you guys be a part of the show. So email me if you're interested. Email me your best and craziest Gamecocks story or fan story of any college football game, and I'd love to read it out on the show because that's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm a fan first and foremost, and I'd love to hear you guys' craziest fan stories. So that is pretty much my post-game show, just some of the things I saw, and overall very positive things coming out of the Gamecocks locker room. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. As always, Spurs up, go Gamecocks, like down below, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and definitely come back next time.